of every single class, every single day. Notebooks should be open, pencils in your hand. I always have extra pencils in the back. So let's make sure our notebook is open to the correct page and that our pencil is in our hand. That is what I just said, right? Pencil in hand. Since the directions are that simple, I do expect everybody to be following them. Show me your pencil in your hand. Good. Is your notebook open?
Yes.
Wherever you left off on lesson 2, or if you like to have a nice clean page and you want to put lesson 2 continue, that's fine too. Yes?
What time is this class end?
It ends when I say it ends, but thank you for asking.
Okay.
Don't worry, I have adjusted my little reminders. I'll get a little buzz. And yes, I'm also getting buzzes from the regular schedule, so if it's not the right thing, I'm just gonna dismiss it and keep going. If it is the right thing, I'm gonna keep going if I need to, and then I'll tell you when you can leave. Okay, don't worry, everybody will go home today. You'll just go home when I say you go home. I scared because...
That's good out.
No,
I scared because I dare.
Can we? Can we?
You can.
Okay. This is gonna look really complicated, but we're gonna make everything nice and organized so we understand it, okay? So we've got a coffee shop, okay? A coffee shop is selling these 2 types of coffee. Arabica coffee, which is super fancy because it's $28 per pound. That's very, very expensive coffee. So the Arabica, if I'm even saying that right, is $28 per pound. Then they also have a much cheaper option. They have the Robusta coffee, and that's only $8.75 per pound. That's a big price difference. Sometimes, do you think maybe the coffee shop owner is going, since those are 2 really big price differences, maybe we should offer something that's like kind of in the middle for people who want something a little fancy but don't want to spend $28 a pound on coffee. So that's a smart shop owner, right, who's trying to give another option for people who don't mind paying a little more than this but don't want to go all the way up to $28 per pound. So they're thinking, let's make another blend that's kind of in the middle. So they want to make a blend that's $15.50 per pound. So kind of somewhere in between, right? Then they say, how are they gonna make this blend? Well, they're gonna use some of the Arabica coffee and some of the Robusta coffee. A little of this and a little of that. But how much of each do they need to make the price $15.50? We don't know yet. Exactly, and that's why this problem is actually easier than that. Are you able to see, Aiden, through that? Okay. That's why this problem is actually, it's similar to the liters of the acidic solution, right? But they didn't tell us either amount of the acidic solution. So Bella's right, this problem does give us a little extra info, so it's going to make this a little bit easier, okay? Make sure everybody's facing forward and paying attention, okay? Awesome. Okay, it does tell us right in the middle that they're going to mix it with 3 pounds of Robusta. 3 pounds of Robusta, and the rest is going to be the Arabica coffee. And the question says, how many pounds of Arabica coffee must we use? Okay, how many pounds? That's going to be our variable. That's what is going to be the variable that we're solving for, right? So just like we've seen with a lot of these word problems, when we use a variable in a real life situation, it's very helpful to use a variable that kind of represents the information that we're actually looking for. So that is why we see the variable A, right? We're going to use A to represent the Arabica coffee. Does that make sense so far? Now, I do want you to be copying down this table, but I know that copying something down like this can make you kind of zone out and not pay attention. This is an old alarm. That's not correct. So we really want to make sure that we're understanding this as we're writing it, okay? So go ahead and start making the table with your Arabica coffee, your Robusta coffee, and your coffee blend. Don't fill in any of the number or variable information yet. For right now, we're just putting this. When you're done with that, you can make your top row the price per pound, the amount of pounds, and the total cost. I'm just going to draw a couple of cans of coffee here. Terrible, terrible cans of coffee, but they are my cans of coffee, okay? Because you know how I like to draw things out. Good, great job. All right, do you agree that in order to get my coffee blend, I need to combine my some of my Arabica, combine that with some of my Robusto, right? And that's gonna get my blend, right? My kind of middle grade blend. So let's start filling in the information that is given to us. Let's fill in information that's not given to us with variables, and then let's use that to represent the total cost of each one. So the price per pound of Arabica, did they tell us? Yeah, it's 28, so fill it in. The price per pound of Robusta, did they tell us? $8.75. The price per pound that they want to use for the coffee blend, they also tell us, so go ahead and fill that in. Those are all givens. Aiden, make sure you're copying this down, okay? Ariana, are you writing it down, honey? You don't have enough space? Okay. Aiden, would you scoot your notebook over just a little bit so she has enough space to put her binder? And then Aiden, could you scoot yours just a little bit to your left? Thank you so much. Yeah, you can put your binder that way. And then Riley, you can scoot over just a little bit too, okay? Thank you. All right, so everybody's got that down, right? Now let's look at our amount. Our amount is the number of pounds of each coffee. First, let's go to the Robusto, okay? Let's go to our given information. It said in the problem, 3 pounds. That's what we want to use for the blend. So, fill in a 3. Nice given information. Now let's go to our missing information. The amount of pounds of Arabica coffee is their question. How many pounds? We don't know. Variable A to represent that missing information. Now, the coffee blend that they want to make has to be a combination of the Arabica and the Robusto. So in terms of how many pounds, we don't know the total number of pounds, but we can represent it by just saying it has to be Arabica plus Robusto, right? So do you agree that the number of pounds of the coffee blend has to be at least 3, or it has to be over 3 pounds, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be like way over 3 pounds, but it's gotta be something more than 3 because you gotta at least use a little of the Arabica, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, the total cost of the Arabica coffee. Let me skip to the second line for a second. Let's do Robusto. Robusto. That was Robusto. It's Robusta. Okay. Let's do the total cost of this first. The total cost of 3 pounds at $8.75 pound would be $26.25. The total cost of the Arabica coffee at $28 per pound would be that times however many pounds it is, which we don't know. So 28 times A. Are you guys with me so far? We're just filling in information. Now, the total cost of everything, this and this, would be $15.50, which is what they want to price it at, times the number of pounds, which we agreed has to be represented by this expression, A plus 3. So the total cost of the Arabica total cost combined with the Robusta total cost is going to equal this total cost. Do you see how we're using our variable in an equation to balance out the total cost of these and setting it equal to the total cost of the blend? Now remember, the $15.50 is just the price per pound. We're comparing the total cost of each by saying the combination of these total costs has to equal the total cost of the coffee blend. Because Arabica plus Robusto equals the blend, right? And this is where we're gonna get our equation from. So when we set it up, it's gonna look just like this. We're gonna take our total costs of each coffee and combine them to get the total cost of the coffee blend.
Can you please quiet down, Susan?
You guys ready? So we should have this equation down now, okay? I'm actually gonna write it, after we get to this line, I'll rewrite it. So the first thing that we see happening is we have a number being multiplied times an expression, so what do? Distribute, very good. And I know it's really tiny here, but I'm gonna rewrite it over here in a second, okay? So we have, this is exactly the same, and then we distribute this. 15.5 times A is 15.5A, and 15.5 times 3 is 46.5. If you have calculators, you can work along. So I'm gonna kind of move a little bit quickly through this because I do want to get to that one last problem, which is actually easier than this one. So I'm gonna rewrite this. 28A plus 26.25 equals 15.5A plus 46.5. That was when we multiplied those together to get 46.5. Now it's just like the other problems we've been doing. We've worked out the word problem part and now we just solve, right? What can we do? We have a couple of options. What do you guys want to do? Sure, we can subtract 26.25 from both sides. And we get 28A equals 15.5A, what? Plus 20.25. Okay, now what can we do? Remember, we have variable terms on both sides. So, shouldn't they be on the same team? Since they are alike. Yep.
But don't if you take that one away, then you have to take the other one away.
You have to do the same thing to both sides. So you're right. If I take this away to cancel it out, because we don't want it on separate teams, right? Then I just have to do the same thing to the other side, minus 15.5A. See, that's how we get rid of it on this team. They're like, no, we're like terms, we gotta be on the same team. So we can cancel it by doing the opposite. And then 28 minus 15.5 is 12.5A. Is that correct?
Yeah.
12.5A equals 20.25. Now we divide. Good, because we only have one variable term left. Cancel, cancel. Divide by 12.5 on this side, and we get A equals, as anybody punch that into a calculator? It also says it. Yep, 1.62 what? 1.62. What does it represent?
Coffee.
Pounds.
Pounds. It represents pounds. I know it's confusing. We can go back to our questions like, oh, is that $1.62 per what? No. How many pounds? It'd be 1.62 pounds. Notice how you only just like a tiny bit of this fancy stuff because they didn't want to make it too expensive. They kind of used more of the cheaper stuff to keep the price low. Another question might say, how many total pounds is used in the coffee blend? So for a 1550, so you could add the 162 plus 3, but we won't do that. I won't erase it. I'm just going to erase this part, and then I'm going to move on to the next slide so we can move on. But I promise this one's going to be even easier. And there's nothing like this on your taking this, but it might be in your text, so make sure you have really good notes. Okay. All right. I promise this one's easier. Okay. Cameron likes to download music. He has a service that he uses where he only has to spend 95 cents per song that he downloads. And he's happy with it until he finds out about a new service that only charges 89 cents per song. Now, is that big of a difference? It's just a few cents, right? But when you're downloading songs, that's going to be a thing that happens over and over and over. So he's probably thinking, I might want to switch to this new service because if I'm downloading lots and lots and lots of songs, all those little cents that I save per song are going to add up and save me a lot of money, right? Then he checks the fine print of the new service, and the fine print says, well, it's only 89 cents per song, but you have to pay $12 just to join. And he's like, ooh, $12 right off the bat? Is it worth it? Let's see. Should Cameron switch to the new service? Really, what does it depend on? How many songs he's going to download. Now, he might not be able to predict exactly how many, but why don't we start by comparing the new service and the old service, or his current service, and see what number of songs he downloads will make them equal prices. And we can start there. And then we'll decide if it's worth switching. Now, the new music service charges 89 cents per song. We don't know how many songs yet, so we're just going to use that as our variable. 89 cents per song, plus the $12 fee. This is the cost of the new service. We set that equal to the old service, or his current service, which is just 95 cents per song. It's a little more expensive than the other one. We're trying to see which one's better. Now, when you solve algebraically, all you need to do is what? Tell me what I would solve, how I would solve here.
Minus 8.
Yep, minus 0.89 from both sides. Or I should, minus 0.89s from both sides. That cancels out and you get 12 equals 0.06x. We don't have any number to combine, or there's nothing on the other team that 12 needs to join with or take care of, right? We only have our s terms. So that's why I'm subtracting the 0.89s from here and doing the same thing on the other side to get rid of this. And now I have 12 equals, and I just subtracted 0.06x. Then from here, all we have to do is divide by 0.06 on both sides. When you do that in your calculator, 12 divided by 0.06, you're going to get 200. What does 200 represent?
Money.
how many songs he needs to download for each of the services to have the same.
Exactly. 200 songs to make them they're equal, to make them an equal worth, right? How many songs do you think he would need to download to make it worth it to switch?
300.
If you did 100 songs, you would just be saving one.
So what would be an example of a number of songs to make it worth switching to the new service?
400.
That's a good example. What else?
500.
Okay.
600.
600. Anything else?
900.
I hear 900.
1,000.
I hear 1,000. Anything else?
60,000.
What about
1 million.
What about 201? Would that be worth it?
Sold to the man in blue.
Yeah, you'd probably end up saving like a couple of cents. But anything over 200. So if the number of songs equals 200, to make it even, then it's only worth switching if he plans on downloading more than 200 songs. So notice how this didn't say how many songs would make them even, although it or equal. That could be a question, then the answer would be 200. This says, should Cameron switch? The answer is, well, it depends on how many songs he wants to download. If he plans on downloading more than 200, then sure, he can switch, and that would be a good idea. All right, I would love it if you guys could pack up and stack the chairs for me. Don't forget about your take-home quiz. It is on Canvas.